In 1940, a man walked towards a group of Nazi soldiers during a street roundup in Warsaw and let them catch him on purpose. He wasn't a spy caught in the act. He wasn't unlucky. He planned to be arrested. He wanted the SS to beat him, load him onto the train, and ship him to the single most dangerous place on the planet. He wanted to go to Auschwitz, not to survive it, to infiltrate it. By the end of this video, you'll know how he built a spy network inside the walls of a death camp, how he became one of the first people on Earth to tell the world what was really happening there, and why the country he risked everything for later put him on trial and had him shot as a traitor. This is the true story of Witold Pilecki. Stay with me, because the way this ends is almost harder to believe than the way it starts. September 1939, Germany invades Poland. Within weeks, the country that has existed on the map that morning simply doesn't exist anymore. Witold Pilecki is 38 years old, a cavalry officer, a landowner, a husband and father of two. He fights the invasion, watches his unit get run over by tanks nobody in Poland has an answer for, and when the country formally surrenders, he does something most defeated soldiers don't do. He doesn't go home, he goes underground. Within weeks, Pilecki is one of the founders of a resistance organization in Warsaw. Small meetings, coded messages, the kind of thing that gets you shot on the spot if the Gestapo finds a scrap of paper with the wrong name on it. By early 1940, the resistance has a problem. Rumors are coming out of a small town called Auschwitz. The Germans are calling it Auschwitz. People go in, almost nobody comes out. Nobody in the underground actually knows what's happening inside. No intelligence. No documents, no proof. So Pilecki purposely does something that makes the room go silent. Send me in, he says. Not smuggle in, not disguised as a guard. He wants to get arrested on purpose. In a random street sweep, using a fake identity so that the Gestapo drags him in to Auschwitz themselves. And then he'll walk in as a prisoner with a mission nobody inside the camp could possibly know he had. His commanders think he's insane. They approve the mission anyways, and on September 19th, 1940, Witold Pilecki walks in to a Nazi roundup in the middle of Warsaw and doesn't run. Here's what almost nobody in Pilecki's position had. He had a choice, right up until the last second, to disappear into the crowd. He's arrested along with roughly 2,000 other Polish civilians, swept up that very same day. Beaten in a temporary holding facility, loaded onto a freight train with no food, no water, no toilets, no idea, as far as the guards are concerned, of where they're going. Pilecki knows exactly where he's going. But roughly 2 days later, the train stops, the doors open, and Pilecki gets his very first look at the place he volunteered to enter. The shouting, the dogs, the men in stripes, already broken down into numbers instead of names. He's given a prisoner number, tattooed, processed, stripped of his name. From this point forward, to every guard in the camp, he isn't Witold Pilecki. He's a number in the system built to erase who he was. So what do you do on your very first night inside the most dangerous place in occupied Europe, when discovery means immediate execution? If you're Pilecki, you start recruiting. Within the first weeks, Pilecki starts identifying prisoners he can trust. Men who serve his politics, his nerve, and his willingness to die rather than talk. Quietly, carefully, he begins organizing them into small resistance cells inside the camp itself. He calls it the Union of Military Organization. The rules are brutal by necessity. Cells of just a handful of men each, so that if one prisoner breaks, he can only give up a few names, and not the whole network. Assignments get split by function. Some prisoners work to keep each other alive, some smuggle extra food to weaken members, and some, the most dangerous job in the camp, start gathering information. What is exactly happening here? Who is being brought in? What buildings are being constructed? What's disappearing? And where is it going? And then Pilecki does something that, on its very own, is one of the most audacious moves of the entire war. He finds a way to get written reports out of Auschwitz, smuggled through prisoners released or transfers, hidden in laundry, memorized and passed along by word of mouth to contacts on the outside, who then relay it to the Polish resistance in Warsaw. Every single report is a death sentence if it's found. Every prisoner in the chain is one search away from a bullet. And Pilecki keeps sending them anyway, because someone outside those walls needs to know what's happening inside them. By 1941, his reports are reaching the Polish government in exile in London. Reports about starvation, about executions, about a system of cruelty that most people in the free world still can't fully picture to this day. But what Pilecki documents next is the part of the story that changes everything. Through 1941 and into 1942, the camp changes. New construction, new procedures. A second camp begins arising nearby Birkenau, and Pilecki, still running his intelligence networks from inside the wire, starts to piece together something the outside world does not yet have a name for. Mass killing. Not a byproduct of overcrowding or starvation, as a deliberate, engineered system on an industrial scale, aimed first at the Soviet prisoners of war, and then increasingly at the Jewish people being transported in from across occupied Europe. Pilecki's reports are among the first detailed accounts of what would later be called the Holocaust. The first reports to reach Allied intelligence, not rumors, not secondhand guesses, but a first-hand account from a trained military officer living inside the camp, cross-checking what he saw against what his networks could confirm. Here's the part that should stop you cold. These reports went out, they reached London, and for a long time, almost nobody in the outside world fully acted on them. The scale of what Pilecki was describing to the governments receiving his reports almost seemed too enormous to be believed. He had done exactly what he set out to do. He'd gotten the truth out of Auschwitz, and the world wasn't ready to hear it. By 1943, Pilecki's networks is fraying. The Gestapo is closing in on parts of it. He's been inside for nearly 3 years. Longer than almost anybody else with a mission like his ever survived. His commanders on the outside have gotten what they needed. It is now time to get out. The problem is, nobody escapes from Auschwitz. Late April 1943, Pilecki is assigned to a night shift at a bakery just outside the main camp perimeter, a work detail with slightly looser guard coverage than the rest of the camp. He and 2 prisoners have been planning this for weeks. They know the patrol timing. They know which door isn't checked as often as it should be. On the night of the escape, they cut the phone line to slow down any alarm. They forced the bakery door, and then German patrols within earshot. 3 starved, exhausted men who spent years inside the most heavily guarded facility in Nazi-occupied Europe simply walk out into the dark. They don't get too far before the first search parties start. They hide, they run. They cross a river in the freezing cold to throw off tracking dogs. For days, it seems, they move only at night, living on nothing, terrified that every farmhouse could be the one that turns them into a reward. They make it. Pilecki resurfaces in the Polish underground weeks later, walking proof that escape from Auschwitz wasn't a myth, and carrying with him nearly 3 years of intelligence that no other source on Earth could provide. If the story ended here, it would already be one of the boldest missions of the entire war. It doesn't end here. Pilecki doesn't retire after the escape. He keeps fighting. He takes part in the Warsaw Uprising in 1944, one of the largest acts of urban resistance of the entire war, and survives it. When the war in Europe finally ends in 1945, Poland is free of the Nazis. It is not free. The country Pilecki nearly died for 3 separate times, as a soldier, as a volunteer inside Auschwitz, and as an uprising fighter, falls under a new occupation. A Soviet-backed communist government that has zero interest in heroes loyal to the pre-war Polish state. Pilecki stays in Poland anyways, quietly gathering intelligence again. This time on the new regime. For the exiled Polish government in the West. In 1947, he is arrested by the communist secret police. He's tortured, accused of espionage, put on a show trial designed to make an example of him. The man who volunteered to walk into a death camp to expose the truth to the world is now branded an enemy of the state by the very country he tried to save. In May of 1948, Witold Pilecki is executed by a firing squad. For over 40 years, his name is buried. The communist government that killed him makes sure his story, the volunteer mission, the smuggled reports, the escape is left out of Polish history books entirely. An entire generation grows up never hearing his name. It isn't until the fall of communism in Poland in the 1990s that his conviction is finally overturned. That his story starts being told. That the man who broke into Auschwitz to tell the truth finally gets to have the truth told about him. Now here's what's almost impossible to sit with. Pilecki didn't just survive something unimaginable. He chose it. He walked towards the danger everyone else in Warsaw was running from, because he believed the world needed proof of what was happening. And he was right. His reports remain some of the earliest and most detailed first-hand accounts of the Holocaust ever produced. And the country he did it for made him wait 42 years and his own death before it was willing to say his name again. So here's a question worth sitting with. How many stories like this one, true, documented, almost unbelievable, never got their 42 years? How many just stayed buried? If this is the first time you're hearing Witold Pilecki's name, let me know in the comments, and if you want more true stories like this one, or more World War II stories. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next time, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button as we are a new channel here. Excited to see how this grows.